Hello, this is Statler Smith. You are watching one installment of a weekly series where I write an essay about something that's on my mind, record myself speaking that essay, and then upload that video to YouTube. For reasons set forth in the initial video in this series, this is a practice for myself. As such, this video will likely not be entertaining or particularly educational. Perhaps one day I will have value to add to others, but in the words of Aragorn, King of Gondor, it is not this day. If you choose to keep watching, feel free to give feedback on the clarity of thought and speech, as that is what I am trying to improve. Please let me know if you have undergone a similar journey or have tips to share. And who knows, maybe I will eventually add more video editing. With that, let's get into this week's essay.
I don't know about you, but I hear the phrase invest in yourself rather frequently. Perhaps it's my algorithm. Perhaps I tell myself that too frequently, but I hear it quite a bit. What in the world does that mean? From my perspective, what are the actions that I could take to invest in myself? Do I earn new certifications? Do I learn a new tool? If so, what tools? There are so many courses out there that tell me that what they're offering is the thing I should do to invest in myself. But is what they offer worth it? What if I invest in a course that doesn't pan out? Or a skill set that eventually becomes obsolete? I think this conversation benefits from a direct comparison to the world of financial investing. Earlier essays, I've compared investing in relationships to investing in financial opportunities. That doesn't pan out quite as much. I think this one connects a little bit more. Everybody hears how you need to invest your money. What counts as investing? There's a lot of options. There's individual stocks, there's index funds, bonds, options, futures. There's a lot of different offerings for different people who have different risk profiles. I met recently with a financial advisor who helped me see the bigger picture. Frankly, I was hoping to go into that conversation and talk about different ways that we could assemble my portfolio of investments to maximize return and minimize risk. But you know what we talked about? Retirement. Yeah, which is like a, a long ways away from me. I know people say it goes faster than you think it does, but it's still double my lifespan. So it's a little bit farther for me. But we talked about how much we plan on spending in retirement. What kind of life do we want to live at that point? Once we discussed that, we were able to identify the steps that we needed to take to live that life that we wanted to in retirement. If we're spending too much now, the advisor would say, hey, cut back a bit. If we're not spending anything now, the advisor could say, you might want to loosen the purse strings a little so you make it to retirement. I think this conversation starts the same way. What is the life that we want to live? What's the goal? In this case, we're not using just the currency of money, but also the currency of life, our time, and our energy. I take the phrase invest in yourself to mean use your time and your energy to build the life you want to live. And since this is my essay, we get to look at how the rubber meets the road in my life. What life do I want to live? Now, I encourage you to consider your own vision, your own goals for the future, the life you want to live. For me, I have considered that, and my quest is, well, it roughly boils down to having a healthy body, a flourishing brain, meaningful relationships, and a vibrant soul. I'll probably walk through the process of how I got there in another video, but for now, that's kind of what it boils down to. So that's my North Star. That's the goal of investing in myself, the life I want to live. If I spend my time or energy on building that life, that's considered an investment, right? Or a good investment of my time and energy. If I spend my time and energy on something else, it's probably a bad investment or not investing at all. With regular investing, you know you've invested when you see your money move from one bank account to another and you see the purchase of a particular financial offering. And you can see the balance depending on who you go with. You can see the balance go up or down depending on the market for the day. That's pretty simple. That's an investment. Done. As you keep investing, you can tell because the number goes up. As you wait, it goes up. But what are the equivalent of purchases of financial offerings in the personal space? Let's start with health. That's always a good one. What contributes to a healthy body? muscle mass, cardiovascular health, clean diet, good sleep. Those are all the indicators of a healthy body. That's how you know that you have a healthy body, if you have those things. Any action you can take that improves any of those indicators is therefore an investment in yourself. It's as if you're purchasing a small investment product. Say, I work out this morning, and that's like buying a bond or an index fund. Conversely, every time I ignore the investment opportunity, I sit on the couch and I choose not to work out because I don't want to. That is choosing to invest my money or spend my time and energy on something with no future returns. It's as if I'm buying like a little figurine or a trinket that I can put on my desk, and that will usually end up in the trash. So let's move on to the brain. How do I know if my brain is healthy? Mental clarity, information retention, learning ability, or plasticity. And again, whatever I do to improve those indicators of a healthy brain is an investment in the life I want to live. It's not quite as visible as the investments in my body. I don't have the weight that I can lift increasing, or the muscle showing on my body. But the improvement is mainly known through self-reflection. Perhaps there are some external measures. If you have an MRI or a brain scanner, you can look at that. But I don't. So it's mainly just self-reflection. Do I feel smarter than I used to be? Now, what are some specifics of how we can improve those indicators? Here, again, sleep is a huge one. Sleep is so good for your brain. Arianna Huffington has a great book about what sleep does to your brain. Would recommend. Additionally, spending some time on a consistent basis learning something new, stretching your brain. You use it, or you lose it, essentially. Now, relationships. This one's a little different because we make a distinction between strong relationships and weak relationships. Strong, of course, being family and friends. Weak relationships being kind of everybody else and acquaintances and whatnot. Forging and maintaining strong relationships is a vital pillar for anybody having a good life, and it for sure is for mine. Absolutely been true for my life. So what can we do to invest in this aspect of our life? Similar to health, physical and mental health, anything I do that strengthens my relationship with any of the people in my life, particularly those that I have a strong relationship with, is investing in this aspect of my life. If I reach out over phone or I text, if I remember a birthday, or if I congratulate a win, right, like a graduation, there's a lot of options. Think of how you would want somebody to reach out to you. Do that to them. It's a good rule to follow. If you think of somebody you haven't been in touch with for a while, reach out to them. And liking or reacting to a social media post does not count. That is not invest. It's like gambling and saying that's investing. Not quite, but it's not investing. Now, I've kept spirituality for last because this has been one of the more difficult ones for me to measure, to kind of nail down how I know if I'm improving. Standard advice for keeping your spiritual life healthy is to read scriptures or other divine texts, to attend a worship service consistently, and commune with the divine. I usually call that prayer, but I know there are other ways. Now, completing those tasks is not an issue, right? The confusion comes from knowing whether or not I'm actually coming closer. It's like I get the confirmation that the trade happened, but I can't see my balance increase if I relate it to investing, to financial investing. So for now, I'm going to stop there. Whatever your relationship with the divine might be, take steps to improve that relationship. For me, I'm in more of a Christian-adjacent worldview. So for me, it's, pray, study the scriptures, and go to church. And actually pray, right? Actually talk with God. Anyways, after discussing these pillars, these different ways of investing in my life, there are two additional points I want to make. First is that activities that support multiple of these are higher value activities. We mentioned sleep in a number of them. Sleep is such a high value activity because it improves my mental health, or improves my physical health. It keeps me from being mad at people, so it improves my relationships. So that provides a greater return than actions that just support one. I mentioned sleep, but another example is exercising with people. It's a great way to manage my health and my relationships. Diving deep into a spiritual topic might stretch my brain and also stretch me spiritually. The second point is more of a balancing point. With this discussion, it is easy to feel as if every second of every day needs to be spent doing things. If you're not actively investing, you're losing ground. For several of these items, however, rest is a key activity. I've mentioned sleep so many times. It's because it's so important. If you're always breaking down your muscle mass or muscle fibers 24/7, you will never get stronger because they will always be broken. You need to rest so that they can repair themselves. If your brain is constantly on, constantly stressed, trying to learn new things, trying to work, you will never retain what you've already learned, and you will eventually break down. Sleep is a time when you solidify the information, when new pathways are set in your brain, when the toxic stuff in your brain is flushed out. If you're always with people, especially if you're an introvert like me, you will never be able to recharge. I'm sure there's a parallel for extroverts, but I don't know what it is because I am not an extrovert. If you're always studying the scriptures, you'll never be in situations to actually apply what the scriptures say. You'll never be able to love your neighbor because you're too busy reading about it. So you need time away from the investment actions for them to take effect. And this also parallels with the financial aspect. The largest gains from investing come when the investment offerings you purchased years ago have had sufficient time to compound. If you stayed away from your accounts, didn't sell during a market downturn, they will grow a whole lot more than if you sold during a downturn. Each of the pillars of my life that I want to invest in are benefited from taking some time away from active investments. Now, I say this again because it's really easy in this discussion to believe that you should always be actively investing, always be putting information in your brain, trying to do new things and whatnot. And if you never take time for rest, the investments that you do put in will fall short. They will not reap the rewards that they should because they're good activities. I hope this discussion about investing in yourself was meaningful. Most of us are able to use our time and energy more effectively, efficiently, in a way that will be kinder to our future selves. I'd recommend looking at the screen time on your phone. That's, I looked at mine and I was like, I could stop this. I could shift my attention, my time and energy away from this. And it's worked for me so far. I have already seen some returns from investing my time and energy better than I was before. However it works out, though, a small investment now can compound to huge returns in the future. So keep investing. Invest in yourself. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.